Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I am a product manager at Pebble, and so I've done a lot of work with apps over the last year. Worked with a bunch of our first-party apps that we've built, like ESPN and Uber and Timer and Stopwatch and things like that. Even worked with some of you guys on apps that some of you have published. So we just thought it would be a good idea for just a few minutes to kind of collect a number of the lessons that we've learned, and as we curate stuff in the Appstore, kind of suggestions that we can share with you guys of how to make your apps kind of pop and how to get people to download them and use them. So you've built an amazing app, which many of you have already done, but it doesn't stop there, as you know. And using kind of your own channels to tell your friends about it is great. But the other thing you need is a really good App Store page. So we'll go through a few pieces. So as you know, the App Store page, kind of the big elements as we think about it, you got your name, your banner, some screenshots, and the description. So I'll just go through just some kind of quick points, lessons on each of these. And then at the end, kind of some suggestions of other channels to use to kind of get the word out. And then finally, kind of open it up, since a lot of you guys have done this before. It might be a good opportunity to kind of share between some of you of some things that have worked or haven't worked once you launch your app. So obviously, don't put nothing in there. Everything should be filled. So I think kind of the purpose of each of them, I think the best, most interesting way to think about it is kind of with the name and banner is getting people's attention. And then screenshots shows them what it does, and the description tells them what it does. And I think oftentimes people who publish apps will kind of try to do all of those in one of those. So a name that explains everything that the app does and is super long, or a banner that does everything and tries to show exactly everything the app does. So I think that separating these into kind of the explicit purpose is good. So real quick, so I just wanted to throw up two banners here and just see what kind of difference stands out to you, or what might look more effective or less effective. Any thoughts? Yeah.
The one on the right was designed by an engineer.
Why do you say that?
Because it tells you everything you need to know in the wrong place in that image.
Right. And what about this one? Like, what's your reaction to that?
It looks pretty.
Yeah.
Got a nice background.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the point. I mean, neither of these are bad banners, but I think, as you can see, this one kind of catches your eye, and you understand what it does. I mean, you may not understand every feature and bit of it, but you get it. And I think this one doesn't catch your eye as much, and it kind of attempts to show a whole lot just in this one place. So kind of some of the lessons from the banner, since this is where you're getting their attention, is to focus on the use case. So focus on what are you solving, kind of simply, and don't explain your app, as you said. And only show screenshots, when it actually kind of contributes to the pitch. So you don't want to show a screenshot if it's very obvious, and I'll show you some examples on the next one. If it's super obvious what it does, you may not need a screenshot. But if it's something like a watch face, where basically all it is the visual, then it makes sense. Actually, I'll just go through these. And then finally, use as little text as possible. And that's just kind of some, design lessons of just a small amount of text, and if you do use text, to make it big. So you can see, and I wish he was here today, Harel is one of our designers and has worked actually with, I think, some of you guys, as well as a lot of the apps that we've put out, to make really good banners. So you can see JavaPay, when you see the coffee cup and the coffee beans in the background, and you see the word pay, you probably have an idea of what it does. So if you drink coffee and want to pay for it with your Pebble, you would probably click on it. There's no screenshots there. It doesn't say all the features of the app. I just think that's a really good kind of concise banner. Similarly, this one, Alice's Mom's Rescue, it's pretty clear it's a game, and you don't really need much more than the name of the game. And one thing that we have seen with a lot of good banners is maybe a tagline. So again, something to get attention. Read news on your Pebble, right? I mean, but that is probably all you need. Um, so the screenshots. So this is where you show what it does, as opposed to, the first one, maybe the banners, is aiming to get clicks, right? You're trying to get people to click on it to go to your App Store page. That's the sole purpose of it. Once they get there, you have to show them what it does. And so again, we're not at the description yet, but just the screenshots themselves should show what it does. So the first screenshot should tell you kind of the story itself. Because remember, that's the screenshot that when you search for it, you'll see it in the list. So that's the most important one. I think that we've seen a lot, especially recently, using GIFs as that first screenshot. And I think that's a really effective way to do it as well. Because then you obviously you can put more than one screenshot in one screenshot. And also when you think about the collection of all the screenshots, it should show the range of capability. So here you can see, it's customizable, right? So you can see a whole bunch of different colors just across the different screenshots. And this is a GIF, but I would have to, I don't know, it's not playing. But it just shows kind of all the parts of the timer in one. And you can see, the Uber one over there, there's a pin on a map. So it tells you this will pick me up. Does that make sense? Any questions about the screenshots piece? Okay. So the description. So we've seen a wide range of descriptions, and I'm not going to throw up an example because it really depends on what your app is. But I think that, I think some of the things we see is super short descriptions when there should be a long one, because it's not. This is, the one place where you should be able to see all the features. And so it might be confusing. Sometimes a super long one when it's actually a relatively simple app. So I think it's trying to find the right amount of content to put in here. So most importantly is tell the users what you're solving, rather than just necessarily launching into every feature of the app to kind of explain, here's what it does for you, here's what it's solving, and then do describe the set of features, especially in human speak. So something that people can understand whether or not they're a developer. And then also, this is a place to highlight timeline integration. We don't right now have a tag to say this is a timeline app. It's definitely something we've thought about and are exploring, but this is a good place to say, you can find stuff on your timeline. And keep it concise. So that was kind of just the quick lessons learned that we wanted to share with you guys. So after, obviously, you've built a really good app and you've built a good App Store page, now what do you do and how do you get the word out? I think there are a lot of good channels, and I think it's important when you put an app out to think about all of them and see how you can use them. There's a lot of social channels, and I think we kind of are always encouraging you guys to tag Pebble, hashtag Watchface Wednesday, get things kind of on the radar and on Twitter and Reddit and Facebook, and we're kind of constantly scanning. So that's a great place to kind of get the word out. Some folks have done a landing page for their app. I'd be curious, I don't know if any of you guys have, but whether that's been effective. But I know that's kind of one tool people have used, as well as the forums. So we have a lot of forums and people often post apps there. So that's, I think good places to start. And I think it's worth thinking about now, especially with kind of as smartwatches become more pervasive, who are the newer users, right? So you might be able to post something on the Pebble Reddit page now, and a huge percentage of Pebble users are seeing it, but in 6 months from now, especially with more Pebble time rounds in the world and more Pebbles in the world overall, maybe the demographics have changed a little bit, and you have people who may not be checking Reddit all the time. So how do you get to them? So that's kind of, just some thoughts as far as getting your app out there. We are kind of always, so myself as well as a few other folks kind of on the App Store and apps teams are looking at apps constantly. And so, we're featuring things pretty frequently in different categories. We're creating new categories. So as you see things in the App Store change, also I'd encourage you to let us know if you think you have something that, would really fit. And, we are doing our best to kind of get everything see everything that's out there. But the more you guys can actually ping us, that helps us as well. And I think, so a really good way is actually Twitter. And we can share these too. But this is, we've seen more and more people use Twitter for watch apps and watch faces. And so this is an awesome tool. All right, well, I told you it was short, but that's about it. Thank you.